This is the second series of webinar on AR. Again, welcome to everyone who's attending this webinar on experience augmented reality. Just give me 1 second. Let me share my sound also for my videos. Yeah. Okay. Okay, again, afternoon all. Welcome you for the second series of webinar on experience augmented reality. Myself, Rajesh, call me Raj as well. And I'm an educator, AR/VR developer, and you can call me as a learning futurist as well, okay? Because I love understanding the new technologies and how we can come up with new solutions in this with problem statement that we have around the world now. Background started with computer science, moved into animation, VFX, games, into now AR and VR. Okay, I'll say roughly around 18 years of the skill set, both in the creative side as well as on the tech side as well. Okay. So if you have any questions with regards to the technical side or the art side of the AR, feel free to reach out to me. So I'll try to help you guys out in this 1.5 hour session. Okay. So saying that, what are we covering? Just a quick recap. What we have done last week, we have introduced what AR is, what are the different types of AR. We'll just go over some, again, a recap session in case if you have joined new for this webinar series. We'll just recap on the definitions of AR, the types of AR that we have, and then we will get into the two fundamental things for this webinar session. One is app-based AR, and second is the web-based AR. Okay. We will get into an app-based AR with some case studies. I have tried to put as many industries as possible. So we have put retail, we have education, we have marketing, we have even architecture as well. So we have tried to cover as much industries as possible and see how AR can help specific industries. Okay, since we have lack of time, we are trying to cover only 5 or 6 industries. But if you have very specific things that you have in mind, do let me know. Then I'll see how I can solve it. Okay. Then we get into web-based AR, features of web-based AR. Again, case studies with examples. With web-based AR, there are two directions we can take, either as a programming directions using JavaScript, AR.js, or using a non-programmer's version and say, okay, I know how to create a WordPress website. Can AR be implemented inside my WordPress website, kind of a thing? That's why we call it as integrating AR for an existing e-commerce store that you have created using Shopify or WordPress, kind of a thing. Okay. Finally, end up with question and answer. In case if you have any thoughts or a problem statement that you have, and I'll see how I can help you guys on this one. Okay. So this is the agenda for today. Just a quick recap of what we covered. Then we will get into the what do you call it as case studies. Okay. The first thing is let's start defining what AR. Just in case if you are very new to this field, basically AR is nothing but you're overlaying information, or you can say augmenting information into a real world. Okay. And that's why I put this we call the image of Pokemon Go, because anytime I start telling my learners and asking my learners, okay, how do you define AR? They can easily relate to this particular application or game that they have played across. Okay, so it's basically you're overlaying or augmenting information into a real world. Okay, where do I see this AR thing? Right now, you can see it using your phone, or you can see it using devices like HoloLens or some new AR devices that's coming up. So both are can be seen across. Okay, so one is smartphone or smart glasses. Now, when you start looking at AR, okay, there are 3 basic elements that we can cover. Okay, one is information, second is trackers, third is mediums. Okay, so information, trackers, and medium. Okay, so what are these 3 elements? If I want to cover deeply into this 3 months, okay, Information is basically what is going to be augmented. Okay, basically, if I say that I open my application, I see my real world. Can I drop in a 3D character? You can. Can I drop in a furniture? You can. Can I drop in a 2D text? You can. So the information is more like what information are you trying to augment? It can be a 2D medium, text or image, or it can be a 3D form, a character, a sofa set, a dining table. It's completely up to you. The second is trackers. Basically, trackers are what it takes to initiate, because there's a real world, there's an application. How does it trigger this information? Either I can use marker based or either use markerless. Okay. Again, this was what we covered last week. I'm just recapping what we are trying to do this week as well. And third is medium. Okay. Am I using a smartphone? Am I using a web? How I'm actually getting the AR technology or the solution out to the customer. Now, when we start understanding these three elements, the fundamental things that we're asking is there are different types of AR. Okay, I'm just covering the two common ones for this session, not briefly, just quickly recap of from last time. Two fundamental things. One is marker-based AR. Basically, you see a marker and you're augmenting some information. That's marker-based AR. Okay, so as long as the app sees the marker, you can augment a static image, a 3D model, or an animated image. It's completely up to you. Okay, so that's what we call it as a marker-based AR. The second thing that we also covered is markerless AR. The difference is very simple. In markerless AR, you don't need any static image to augment it. So you are augmenting on a non-reflective surface as long as your app can detect flat surfaces, okay, non-reflective, okay. You can tap on it and you're able to augment it. Okay, we will see some examples today on that one. Okay, and this markerless AR works on a concept called SLAM, simultaneous location mapping, and at least 80 to 90% of the phones supports markerless AR at this point of time. Okay, but it's still not 100%, but it's still all the modern smartphones are trying to support this kind of a markerless AR technology. Okay, and keep in mind, it has to be a flat surface, okay, horizontal or vertical. Either one should be there to augment a markerless AR. So the two different types that we will be seeing today, marker-based and markerless AR. And we also covered content. Just a quick thing on content is very important, because when you see examples today, you're going to see some examples on 3D. You're also going to see some examples on the 2D side of it. Okay, but just focusing on the 3D side, you can take photos to 3D. That means you can use, you can hire a 3D artist, give them some reference images of, let's say you're modeling a table. What's this a table I want you to model, and you can model it for you. The second kind is actually getting traction these days is more on the scanning side of it. That means, can I use those new iPhones to capture or new cameras to capture your physical object and convert that into a 3D form? That's your second kind. Third is you go grab an existing model and make sure it is AR ready. These are the ways how people bring products into the 3D world, and that's the very layman explanation of that. Okay, normal photos to 3D, scanning, or existing models. Okay, as I'm starting defining the case studies, you'll also encounter these two file formats. There are a lot of file formats that is people have used, but two file formats is actually standing out with regards to specifically on the web side of it. Okay, one is USDC and second is .gltf. Okay, and why it is very important, because the size is less. And when you see examples on the case studies that I'm going to show to you today, a lot of 3D objects have been modeled in a 3D modeling software like Blender, Max, or Maya. But ultimately, when I put it into web, it is actually using this USDC or .gltf. Okay, so just keep this in mind with regards to the file formats. Okay, and also the tricky part is iPhone supports USDC. Okay, and Android phone supports GLTF. That means when I'm pushing a content for let's say a WordPress or this thing, we try to make sure that both contents are loaded, both file formats are loaded inside. Okay, but again, when I do the case studies, I will again brief you on this two file formats. Okay, where people gets deployed, we're going to see the first two, and next week we're going to cover the social AR side of it. The app-based AR is your basically the app resides on your phone. It can be an Android phone or it can be an iOS phone. It's residing on the phone. Web-based AR, it does not residing anywhere. It is actually residing on your browser. You type in the web browser address and you should be able to see the whole application. Okay. The third is a social AR. It resides on a social media platform like Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. Okay. But for today's webinar, we are going to see app and web-based AR. Okay. So when you see my case study examples, okay, I'm not showcasing any games. I'm showcasing more on there is a problem statement and we are trying to achieve the problem statement using app-based or web-based AR solutions. Okay, that means there is a business objective. Okay, and how do you use AR as a technology to solve that particular business objective? That means there is a problem statement. Can I use AR? It can be marker based, it can be markerless, it can be location based. Can I use these technologies to solve the particular problem statement? Okay, and that is why the definition of AR is basically you're bringing the brand into the life and world of the consumer, and that's very, very important. Okay, and the fundamental difference people always look for with AR, you bring the brand into the life and world of your consumer. Okay, and there are challenges because in AR as well, as much I'm saying that man AR is cool kind of a thing, there are challenges. The challenges are you really need to educate people on how AR is getting used. Second is awareness. That's what I'm trying to about. Okay, and make sure that people are aware that there is assuming I create a website. Okay, I have nicely created all the 3D models, all those things, but they have to click the button to view it in AR. Okay, so and that's the key point of education here. Okay, and how do people discover there is this AR app exist? Okay, that's the second kind of thing. The second kind of problem that you challenges that you will always see. Okay, now, so we have covered the recap session of what is AR, the types of AR, where it can be deployed, and always keep business objective in mind. Okay, keeping that in mind, very, very important on this specific thing. AR is not a mass marketing tool like radio, TV, or magazine ads. Okay, it is an option. Assuming that you put it on a website, you expect the customer to click on it, but he has the choice whether he want to click the AR or not. Okay, he will always look at the sofa and say it looks good, and he will go to the next page and go to the next page. Okay, he may not even interact with it. Okay, so the choice is basically back to the customer side of it. Okay, and that's why the education side is very important, and that's why what people are doing right now is they're actually using the social media platform to promote and see how I'm doing, see, look at my sofa kind of a thing. They're actually promoting using the social media channel. That means there is this thing concept called AR exists, and that's why it is important to start promoting how it's getting used across. Okay, and how people are sharing it with others. Okay, the few tools that we have used the last 6 to 7 years, AR Core, ECAR, Kudan is a very interesting SDK that people have used. AR Kit, Wikit, Euphoria. There are few things that are paid. There are few things that is actually free. That means you can start the journey instantly. Okay. Again, if you think there is tool specific to that you are trying to look for as a non-programmer or programmer, do reach out to me and be able to help you out. Okay, but I want to keep it less technical for now. Okay, so as we finish the recap, let's get into the app-based AR, and I will start explaining some examples and problem statement and how we have achieved it, so that easily you can relate to what we are trying to do. Okay, so the first one is a markerless AR. In case if you have not seen what markerless AR is, it's basically it scans for a flat surface and it documents. Okay, and I take a good example, and this one is residing in the app, either as an Android or as an iOS. That means you want a customer to install the application, and then the application opens up, and then you're trying to augment this. That's the whole idea behind it. Okay, so it's a very simple one, but I just want to show as a prototype of what can be done as a markerless AR. Okay, so and I call this as a home decor series because we have done smaller prototypes so that to show what is the capability of markerless AR. Okay, so the first one is markerless AR. I'm going to lower the sound as I start explaining. Basically, a simple one. And what we can do is it looks for a normal, flat, non-reflective surface, and you can tap. And the reason why people tap onto this kind of a markerless AR experience is you can not only augment it, but you can also rotate it, you can move it, you can scale it. All things can be done within the parts of a phone. That means I want to buy a 3D vase. I've installed this application. I want to see how does it look in my home. Is a thought process that we have. So as much we are saying that there are 2D objects or 2D images where you can see how does it look. It's fine, but I want to bring this into my living room. So how does it look inside my living room? Is a problem statement that we are trying to push across. Okay, and what we are trying to do is we are adding value to the customer sector, make the decision faster. Okay, that means when I say that can website tell what are the features of this particular product, some more images, it makes sense. But when you treat the customer that personal experience, that means can I bring the brand or the product into his living room? That's called personal experience. Then the decision making will be much more faster. Okay, so that's one of the examples of a markerless AR. Okay, this one we always thought, okay, we want to increase the complexity. Okay, we saw, okay, one base makes sense, understood that. The next one, can I have multiple? That means I am buying a condo. I just want to see how different furniture fit inside. So I just want to show a sample example. That means markerless AR doesn't have to be limit yourself to only one object. You can also do multiple objects. Don't have to limit yourself to only one. Okay. So this one, same concept of markerless AR, except that we want to put like multiple home decor models inside it. It can be a chair, it can be a sofa, it can be a table. So you can put everything right inside the space. So don't have to restrict yourself to only one at a time. Okay, so this is basically increasing the complexity of an application, but giving additional features to decorate your home with not only one simple model, you can have multiple models. You can scale, you can rotate, you can place and see how does it look like, and then share to people how does your whole thing looks like. So this is an option of how markerless AR fits inside, not only single marker, but also multiple markers. Okay. So this is one example of how this markerless AR works with regards to single objects and also augment multiple objects. Okay, as I'm doing this, okay, there are a few things that we should always keep in mind. Whether when we are starting doing this phones, okay, whether my phone supports markerless AR, or whether my phone supports marker AR, okay, I'll tell you a good example. 95% of the phone supports marker-based AR because it's wide, because it doesn't need any high-end cameras and all those things. Okay, markerless AR, you should be able to go to what we call, when you go to Google, just type in ARCO supported devices, and it will give you a list of devices that it supports. Okay, at this point, I will say 60 to 70% of the mobile phones will support markerless AR. Okay, so that's one option that you should always think for. Okay, but again, I'll open up more thought process on that markerless AR. Okay, the third one, I want to go into the next one. Again, the same home decor collection. We just want to show the multiple things. Okay, the first was single marker. The second was, when I say first was single object. Second was multiple objects. Third was kind of very interesting to say, I believe everybody has gone through this journey of, okay, I want to do the flooring side of it, okay, and I want to have different tiles for my bedroom or my living room, okay. We used to get the tile, put it on the floor, and see how my tile looks like, okay. Can AI help me to make the decision faster? It's more of enhancement of decision making lab, and that's the whole point of it. That means, can I mark my tile? Can I change the size of the tile? Can I change the pattern of the tile and then say, I think this tile works fine, this tile works fine. You can physically bring the tile, but during this COVID times, if I cannot go to a specific place, can this application help me out? Okay, so this is one such application on how tiles can be used. Again, I'm putting together only home decor collection. So draw like a square kind of a thing, and then you can add in the pattern or the tile that you want to see in your surface. And then you can change the size of the pattern and say, okay, I want the tile to be slightly bigger, smaller, and change the tile of it. So this is an example of how tiling is used inside. Again, we are trying to solve some problems as a solution inside, so it's easy for us to see how it works. Okay. Okay, so this is one example of how tiling is used across. Okay, so this is home decor. Okay, so as we are wrapping up the home decor thing, few important things. Okay, always look at the analysis of the market. There is that is something that the market will tell you. Okay, the target audience, the millennials, or the largest consumer group in the furniture and bedding market. Okay, and all they do is, apart from going to a particular shop and buying, they also trend to be more online driven. Okay, the high conversion rates is because they use smartphones, they use technology to make the decision making. Okay, and that's why even for big ticket items now. And an important part for a business owner is it is low return rates. Okay, that means once they understand how this furniture or the sofa looks like, and inside the living room, the return rates of that particular item will be very, very low. Okay, so that's something that you can look for. So we saw the home decor more on furnishing items, single object, multiple objects, flooring, tiles. Okay, let's switch gears into packaging. Okay, because I want to show multiple examples, so we'll be able to see how this can be used. Okay, packaging is very interesting. Okay, assuming, okay, and I believe if you have kids, what you do is you go buy a toy for the kids. The first thing they do is the kid will get the toy, will be nice, and the toy will be on the table. But what happens to the package after it is bought? Okay, some people will keep it. At least 50%, 60% of people will say, because I got the toy, now the package will go outside. Okay, how do you make sure that you give improve your the experience so that they keep the packaging? The same time, why keep the packaging? Because it will enhance your brand loyalty, and at the same time, you are there is a reason for them to keep, because you are engaging with the toy in a different way. Apart from the actual toy, you're using packaging for engagement. Okay, this is another small prototype. Again, for packaging side of it, I'm going to reduce the volume as I start explaining. Basically, think like you're getting this Lego box. You've got this nice toy, and there are 6 sides to the box. And what we want to do is each side can tell a story. Okay, and we can have animations, we can have voiceover, and again, it's a part of how we used Minecraft kind of a thing to come up with some kind of a Avengers characters on each side, and there's a dialogue happening. So it's basically you're engaging with the person who has bought the toy. So I'm just going to increase the volume. And this is one side. You
could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you?
So basically, the next one is, and as I forgot to mention one thing. This is a marker-based AI. Okay, that means each side of the packaging box is supposed to be a marker. Okay, you're not limiting yourself to a single marker. That means each package will be able to bring the characters to life, and you can tell a story. You can have some animations to it. So you're giving some value to the packaging so that they can keep, and you can always change the content, push new contents across, so that every 3 months or every 6 months you can have new content pushed onto the packaging side of it. That means every time they see a marker, we can change the content every quarter or every 6 months, so that it's the new content that gets pushed across. Okay, this is one avenue of how to attract customers, and how we can use AR in the packaging side of it. Okay, an example, again, there are a lot of case study use case, but this is one such example that we can look for. Another one. And always keep in mind that the content, as you start pushing the content, we should also keep in mind the size of the content needs to be less. Okay, you cannot have very high-end characters inside. It has to be something that a normal smartphone can open across. Okay, so this is marker-based AR. Okay. Okay, so till now, what we have seen is markerless. To give an example of how markerless works. The second is we saw marker-based AR. You can apply marker-based AR to anything. It can be a business card, it can be an EDM, it can be a brochure. It's completely up to you. These are the two fundamental examples of markerless and marker-based AR. Okay. Since we have less time, I want to start looking into a direction of where some of these AR technologies are going. Okay. The first one is basically there's this new tech space called the area targets. Okay, apart from looking at markerless, apart from looking at marker based, can your phone understand the space around you? Is very important. Okay, that means this concept of area targets, it can understand your space. Okay, assuming that you are in a mall. Okay, can it understand the space of a mall and augment information into it? Okay, it goes by two important things. Okay, the concept is very new. It is not cannot be done using Android phones. It needs what we call it as a lidar phones. Okay, the new iPhones that we have, iPhones or iPads. Okay, basically lidar stands for light detection and ranging. Okay, and it uses lasers to ping off objects because it scans the surface for you. Okay, and convert that into a space, and so that you can augment information in that space. Okay, and it is again not for Android. You need iPhones, iOS devices to scan the surface for you. Okay, so I just put together a small video, understand a small two prototypes on this one. Okay, this is what as an entrance of majors. Okay, assuming that I want to do onboarding using AR. Okay, and I think when I say onboarding means you are in COVID times and we don't have a lot of people into this one. Okay, assuming a person enters the space. Okay, can you tell what the space is all about, what this room is all about? Okay, so we are trying to use area targets to understand how applications can be used for those onboarding or inside the mall as well. Okay, the first step that we do in area targets is very simple. Okay, the app has to scan the surface. It has to understand the space around it. Okay, so when I say scan the surface, you take your iOS devices, okay, or iPad or iPhone, and use the target creator to scan the surface. And what it does is it has to understand the surroundings around you. Okay, and you start walking around, it starts to look around the surface. Okay, and whatever you see, those green, blue, and all those things, it is understanding the environment around it. Okay, why it needs to understand the environment is once it understands the environment, you can then pop up any additional information you want. It can be a 2D text, it can be a 3D model, completely up to you. Okay, that means before it was marker based, look at a marker and augment. Second was markerless, flat surface and augment. This time it is a space augmentation where it understands the space and you're augmenting on that space. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example, two examples. One is we have scanned the surface right now, right? What happens when the app, now I've augmented it, I'm showing the final output of that particular thing. Okay, so this is the output of how augmentation happens. Now I have taken the phone. Now you can see it has understand the surface. I've dropped information into it. So automatically I'm able to augment it as understand the surface. And as I start using my Android phone, iOS phone, now I'm able to see the onboarding happening. Okay. That means it knows the location. Now I'm able to take the phone, use the phone, walk around, and able to start telling what each of these rooms are. Okay. You can drop in 2D images, you can drop in 3D images. And so this concept of using those LiDAR technology, understanding the space and augmenting this information is something new. Okay, because it is tapping on to what we call it as understanding the space and augmenting. Okay, so this is a very simple example of how you guide the user to navigate around your workplace. Okay, and that's the beauty of this whole thing is I've scanned, you need an iOS device. Okay. Then I take it to my development, drop in all these 2D images like CR1, CR2. Okay. Once you publish the app, that's it. Okay. After that, you can work in Android or iOS. Okay. So that's the beauty of this particular application is for development or scanning, you need iOS. But when I publish the output, it can be viewed using Android or iOS. That's the beauty of it. Okay. The same thing we want to get into the mall side of it. Okay, that means we understand how it is can be used in workplace. Okay, but what happens, can I be used inside malls or indoor retail outlets? Okay, you can also add a companion just to show the complexity of it. Okay, so this one is inside a mall. You can create treasure hunt. You can drop in multiple objects also inside. It understands the surface. Now you're able to put promotional things inside that space. Okay, that can be added across as things we move across. Okay, the second is I want to go to a subway. Okay, can my app tell me how do I go to the subway kind of a thing. So this is another, I'll say, use case that we're trying to do. There's a gift box. You can collect a gift box as you're trying to go and have your lunch or your breakfast inside a specific restaurant. Collect. As we are trying to push this across, we are also pushing into what we call it as companion apps. Okay, so not only you can use space target area target for a normal one, but also can be used as companion apps. That means you can pick an avatar and can the avatar guide you to that particular location. This also can be done. So now you just follow the avatar and you should be able to point it in the right direction. So this is another very important use case that people are actually tracking across. Apart from using location based, you can also understand the space and you are able to give value to the user on how you can use this as a companion app or how it can be used as a normal onboarding session. Okay, coming under the same space of understanding the space and augmented. Okay, so that's a very important way of how navigation works with regards to workplace or malls or retail outlets. Okay, so so what we have seen so far is marker based, markerless. Then we have went into what we call it as a area targets, more towards scanning the surface and augmenting the information. Okay, now the last two is basically targeting two important things. DIY is basically a very important people either I can use as a if I want to go buy let's say a table fan. Okay, always get the fan and I'll get the manual. Okay, and the manual will tell me what is the first step, second step, third step. I have to read those small manual and I have to do it. Okay, there are other DIY as well as AI can be also used as a presentation tool. Okay, and why I'm showcasing this particular case study is few things. Okay, not everything needs to be program heavy. That means the first 5 examples or 3 examples that I showed you, man, you need to understand a specific game engine, you have to understand the programming, then you have to implement this. Okay, now there are few tools in the market that you don't have to be a programmer to do it. Okay, this is one such tool. Okay, so whatever I'm showing you is not something programming related. Anybody who understands to create a very simple AR manual or AR as a presentation tool can be used across. Okay, it's even for beginners now, as long as you understand the concept of AR. Okay, This particular DIY concept or a presentation tool concept, it has got two very interesting positives. Okay, one is you don't need to be a technical person. Second, you should be able to project it any place, anytime you want it. Third important thing is it's a presentation tool. That means like how we are joined in Zoom, right? I'm the presenter. I've got people joining my thing. Okay. Same way here as a presentation tool, you can not only present your AR, okay, but you can also make a people join your presentation in the AR mode. That means I have people in Hong Kong, I have people in Indonesia, I've got people. Can they be embedded inside this as a presentation tool? You can. Okay, so the example that I'm trying to show is more on understanding how it is used as a presentation tool. You can have voiceover, you can have steps. Okay, that means what is the first step, what is the second step, what is the third step, what is the fourth step. Everything coming under your AR mode. Okay, so and you can have subtitles or captioning, you can call it as. Okay.
Hello, my name is Anas, and today I will be presenting my
So this one is
portfolio
basically
automotive industry
think
booth.
like I have a design booth and I want to tell the features of this booth. Okay, and again go back to the COVID times and say, boss, what can you add in the booth? Where can I have the images? Where can I have the movies kind of thing? You want to present it across to your potential clients. Okay, can AR as a medium be used as a marketing or a sales pitch to a potential client? Saying that, boss, this is a default layout of my exhibit booth. Okay, can you can explain to them, okay, boss, here you can have your logo, here you can have your television thing, you can have some stickers over here. So these are the ways you can tell people what your features of exhibition booth are. Okay, so I'm just showcasing something more on the presentation tool aspect.
This is the display case in which we will hold a scale model of our new car for all to see. Our display counters will display a scale model of our previous vehicles that we have done over the years. The TV screens on the wall will display various promotional videos for our new vehicle.
Okay, so basically this
Thank you for
is
listening to my exhibit page, and I hope you will consider it.
So basically what we have done is we have taken the concept of markerless AR into a AR presentation tool and just using your voice and steps to tell people that what am I doing with the booth that you have? What can you do? What kind of things can be used in customized in the booth? Let's assume that if the events space opens up, this is one idea that we can always think through. Okay. Um, so as much we are talking about AR as a retail, marketing, and presentation tool, there's one big chunk that we will always forgot. Okay, and the big chunk is going to be the education. Okay, and education space is interesting. Okay, and there are two examples I'll show you on education space. Okay, and again, I come at the perspective of a teacher because I'm an educator. Okay, if there are two ways we can employ. Okay, that means I go online, download some app, use it as part of my lesson. That's option one. Or design or develop my own app. That's option two. But the first two, the problem is uh, I don't know which is good AR app that can be used as part of experiential learning. Second is I don't have time to create this content. Very important. Okay. The same time, textbooks are good. We can have some activities and all those things. Okay. But assuming yourself you are in COVID times. Okay. Sometimes it is you are at home, sometimes you are at your classrooms. At the same time, you are in this century where you are trying to empower the students by having a little more experiential learning as part of the studies. Okay, uh, there are a lot of tools that is there, but there are few tools that we thought that we have explored and we have showcased to some of the teachers. Okay, again, you can make your own tool also, absolutely fine. Okay, but as a if I say I'm an educator, I don't have time to look for a tool. Is there a tool that will be faster to do, no coding required, but will give me quick lesson plan? That means I have a lesson plan, but I want to showcase, let's say, a storytelling activity. Okay, can I make a quick drag and drop in half a day's time? Can I make a quick story out of that using AR? Yes, you can do it. Okay. So the two examples that I'm going to show you is again, it's markerless AR, tapping onto markerless AR technology. CoSpaces and MergeCube, these are the two things that we have used to showcase this. Okay. So always look in the perspective of your target audience or your kids. Okay. Who is making this? Your teachers are making it. Okay. So when teachers tell a story, they use they become the characters. That's how people have been telling stories. But can I use AR to bring characters to life? Okay. So this one is bringing stories to life, fictional characters. Type in. So you can have your whole forest, you can have animals, you can talk to the animals can speak, you can have music, and you can have some animations to it. So think like you're bringing your whole jungle into this one, and think that your kids are actually looking at that particular thing. This is experiential. That means they can go look at closer at the animals or elephant or zebra or even the characters that you're trying to make it talk. Okay, so empowering teachers using AI for learners. Okay, for the students that they are teaching. Okay. The second one, if you know what merge cubes are, these are basically holograms in the hands of the learner. Okay, that means you create a story, you can drop the story inside AR. The alternative is you can also bring the stories as a hologram. That means they can hold those characters in the hand. Okay, so this is another example. So basically, that's your merge cube. It recognizes this. So each side of the cube is, think like it's a marker. And as you start rotating the cube, you will see different information that gets popped up. So you're not limiting the information to only one specific thing. So this is a dragon Harry Potter storyline. Okay. So you have the character, you have the name of the book, you have the rating, you have the author information. Everything can be done by holding the cube itself, hologram in the hands of the learner. Okay, it's much more intuitive for a learner to say, "Wow, I'm holding the bunch of characters in my hand." It can be a science, it can be a story. It's completely up to you. Okay, but both have the fundamental difference. You're using digital tools, okay, to create this kind of experiences. Okay, so what we have seen so far on the app, again, I've got a lot more examples, but because of lack of time, I'm just limiting myself to the 5 or 6 different industries. Okay, so what we have covered so far is on the app-based AR side is what can be done using app, whether it's going to be iOS or Android, marker-based, markerless. Can AR be used as a presentation tool? Can AR be used in the education sector? Everything. Okay, so we want to cover both the programming aspect of it. We also cover the non-programming aspect of it. Okay, now we get into the second session is more on the web AR side of it. Okay, what's the web AR side is basically the first is you have to install on the phone. Okay, it's a very important thing. Okay, when I and for the web AR side of it, it is on the browser side. Okay, so your magic of AR is on your smartphone's web browser, iPad, iPhone, Android, Samsung tablets. It's completely up to you as long it supports 90-95% of the current browsers from Firefox to Chrome to Microsoft Edge. What's web AR in a layman definition? It's a content that is displayed using a smartphone's web browser. Okay, you don't have to download from the App Store or a Play Store. It is more accessible to AR. Okay, and I've told this last week also is like if you are attending events, okay, you don't ask a person to say, "Boss, please download my application." It will not download because this event is big. You don't expect everybody who's attending the event to download your application, all those things. So what you're trying to do is, can you create a website in which you can augment, create those AR solutions? That's what the whole idea behind it. Okay, and it is much more easier to access than downloading the application. Okay, and keep this in mind with regards to AR consumer journey. It goes from customer sees a promotion, scans the QR code. Basically, QR code becomes the magic of AR these days. If I'm doing a AR, the triggering point is I scan the QR code, the browser or the web link opens up, You activate the camera, either it be a marker based or markerless, and the customer will engage with the AR that you have created. Okay, that's the whole idea behind this particular thing. Okay, and then you share it in the social media. So this is the whole idea behind the consumer journey, from starting of promotion all the way to the sharing in the social media space. The benefits of AR: straightforward, no mobile app download, fast deployment, no updates. It integrates natural integration with statistical tool. That means you can collect the data, how many people have downloaded, whether they have engaged or not, and it was your scale. Okay, that means high engagement, 25% decrease to go and it. And the best part of web AR is the fourth one that I mentioned here. And it is dropping inside the website. Customer journey. Buying a just a shop and say, boss, and then ask the same question to the salesperson so that confirm whether whatever before buying the actual product. Okay, so keep that in mind or key insight. Okay, and the key challenge is going to be personalized. Can everyone wants a personalized shopping experience? Many of them like to include some time on the website and some time on the retail sharing. Okay, but both the times they always this is you walk into the store, you buy a product, you check out the puzzle. Okay, but the bottom part of the iceberg is basically what it happens. Okay, it's kind of huge. They do the research, they talk to their friends, they look at the reviews before they go into that particular store. The particular store is just to confirm whatever research is done or not. Okay, and this is kind of a huge this post-pandemic goal, that bottom of the iceberg represents about 90% of the shopping journey. Okay, and why I'm emphasizing on this customer journey is, if I am doing a website for a particular client, yes, I can make a normal website. Okay, but when I bring the AR component to it, will it add a value in the decision making process? And that's what the whole idea is. Okay, and that's what we're trying to go. Okay, so what makes up the web AR? Things: 3D model, when you open a website, okay, you see a 2D image, you have some text, you say how many items you want to buy, discount, and all those things. Okay, what happens if you have a 3D component attached to it? Will it entice you? That means what is a 3D component doing? That means I have a phone, I can have a 2D image of the phone. Makes sense. It's fine. Or I have a 2D image of a small chair. Makes sense. It works. Okay. But if I have a 3D component of the chair, I can rotate. I can see the chair in all directions. I can zoom in, zoom out, completely everything. Okay. At the same time, can I also see that in the AR mode? Okay. That's why bring a 3D element inside a website. Make sure it's not heavy. It is giving benefit for the business owner so that you're able to sell it much more faster than what we have done with normal one. Okay. Few things on the 3D models. Okay. And why emphasizing on this? Okay. As much I'm saying 3D is very easy. It's not easy. It's a tricky one. But the trend that is happening right now is getting the 3D element inside a high component product makes the decision faster for people to buy the product. Okay. So when you start looking at 3D side of it, okay, you always look into the polygon. Don't dump too many polys, because when I say polygons and all those things, you should look at the small squares. Okay. Whether the square is smaller or whether the square is higher. Okay. You don't need a game model. At the same time, you don't need a 3D model that is more film. Okay. It has to be optimized so that it can load the website faster. Keep in mind the website, normal website loading time should not be increased because I've added a 3D kind of it. Okay, if you're doing that, don't add at all because you're spoiling their current business. So that's the important part of the web AR side of it. Okay, so when we start looking into this, okay, the web 3D side of it, why people do web 3D? One is you can see the model from different perspectives, from different angle. Okay. Second, you can configure the 3D side of it. Oh, I can have blue color. Can I have red color? Can I see it with arms? Can I see it without arms? These are the ways in which you are able to customize or configure your product to see what does it look like. That means apart from seeing the image in 2D, can I also bring a 3D element? Makes sense? Works. Can I also bring a configurator for the 3D element? That means can I configure, oh, I don't need the armrest. I don't need this color. Okay, can I have with the cushion, without the cushion? You're configuring it. Okay, colors, materials. Okay, and at the same time, we should work on most common browsers. So when I create a web AR experiences, you always start the journey with what's my 3D component going to look like? Am I going to have a configurator inside my 3D and then add AR component to it? So AR is not going to be just you click an image and I have an AR. Okay, these are the steps you can go. You have a 2D image, makes fine. But if you want to have an AR, always start with a 3D. Configure, then ask yourself, am I doing a configuration for the 3D? Third is, am I getting a AR component added to it? When you start going into this element, I think this is basically the same thing of the components of a Web 3D. Configure, personalize, you can do the price of the item with configuration, without the configuration. That means you add some things, you check the pricing will increase based on what you have configured. And then you can check whether your item is available or not. That's the beauty of the Web 3D configurator now. And as I'm starting to do with, you also look into the specific thing. So we got what is 3D, we got what is configurator of 3D. That means you can configure object. The third is you bringing AR to the real world. Okay, and what we are trying to do is I've configured. Now can I see how my object looks into the real world? Is what this web AR is all about. Okay, so the journey goes from a 2D image to a 3D model, configuring a 3D model to a web AR mode. That is the whole journey goes across. Okay, so basically we're able to move, rotate, scale through hand gestures, overlaying the virtual object into the real world. Only works on mobile browsers. Very important. Okay, and that point is emphasized a lot. Okay, you are doing a markerless AR. Okay, you don't want to. You can I configure in 3D in desktop? Yes, but when it comes to web AR, there should be a camera that should be seeing it, and that's why most of the time when we finish it, we try to see our results in a web AR in the phone mobile browsers. Okay, engages the customer and provides better understanding. Okay, most of the time you have this small icon either expressly saying that you in AR, or we have the small square icon say that when you click on it, you are able to tap and augment that in a AR mode. So these are the ways we are able to see it. So that if you just recapping what we have covered, there is a 3D part of it, web 3D part of it. There's configuring the web 3D. That means not AR. You have a 3D model, configuring the 3D model, then viewing the configured model in AR mode. Okay, this is the whole series of things that you are able to implement inside the website. Okay, so that's the key over here. And why it's important, don't add for the sake of adding. Just giving you a heads up now itself, and don't add for the sake of adding a 3D model inside. If you think it will add value for the purchasers, then do add it. Okay, at the same time, it has to be optimized. Okay, so let's go dive deeper into the case studies. Okay, and the first case study, I go back very simple ones. The two things that we have already seen. The first one, I think I've shown you the case study of 3D wasteland in app base. That means I can tap the vase, I can rotate and do everything. Okay, we take the same example, home decor, but implement that in the what we call it as a in a web AR mode. Okay, so when you look into this, we have a case study, and what we want to do is we open up the website, and you can configure the different colors, whether it's going to be blue, whether it's going to be white, whether it's going to be green. And then what you do is you are trying to then tap the button called enter in AR. After you are happy with whatever you have selected, now you're able to enter into the AR. Okay, so when you enter into the AR mode, you're actually opening up inside the real world, and then you're seeing the surface in the real world. That means you're not installing the application. Everything gets augmented using the browser. Okay, mobile browser. Okay, now you have seen the 3D side of it. Now you're able to configure it, and then you're augmenting in the space. Okay, so you can tap on it. That's how the surface looks like. Implementing, you can scale it, you can rotate it, and you can tap it into the surface as well, and then push it aside. So that's the beauty of the whole thing of how AR can be used now. So then you can position it so that then you can see for yourself how does it look inside. Coming from the browser's perspective, not installation of everything happens in the browser. Okay, so traditionally what we do, as I'm getting into this, we kind of start everything from scratch. Okay, we develop the pages in HTML, JavaScript, and then bring in the like hard-coded element class, so everything gets right over here. Okay, the next example that I want to show is bicycle, just for the sake of complexity. Okay, before I go into WordPress and other things, I just want to show another example that's slightly complex than the first one. Okay, the first one was a normal 3D base, drag and drop it, put it inside. Okay, the next one was a bicycle. Okay, and assuming that I am buying this design bicycle, okay, from online. Okay, I want to understand the features of the bicycle, what it can do, what colors it has, and what are the different elements of that particular thing. Basically, we call it as annotations. Okay, so apart from having it in the browser, configuring it, that means it's still a 3D model. You can have different colors of the bike. Once you configure, you can also see the different parts of the bicycle. What features, what are the unique features of this bicycle? And then you can tap and you can augment in the space around you. That means you don't have to go to the actual store. You can go, but you can make decision making right within the space. Okay. Again, this happens right in the browser base itself. Okay, so that's 3D with annotations. Okay, you can configure the different colors, and then you're able to augment as well. So when you tap on it, it actually opens up. I think, and make sure that we are do not have too high end poly count models. Make sure it is optimized so that it loads faster. Okay. So once you see the 3D model, once you've configured it, you can drag and drop it right inside the space. So this is basically what I call it as configured law. So basically you can rotate, you can scale it down and see from different view how does the bicycle looks like. So this is a kind of very interesting way of how you're bringing the products inside the living room, and you don't have to download the application side of it. Okay, so it is happening right in the browser side of it. Okay, so we have seen two examples. Take these examples as more towards hard-coded programming, JavaScript, HTML, AR.js. You design the page, static page, you add some element to it, you add the model viewer, you configure it, everything is done inside that space. Okay, so as we are understanding what the web AR is, okay, you also have to understand the other side of web AR component to it, because I just want to open up the other side as assuming that I create a Shopify website or a WordPress website kind of a thing. Okay, can AR be implemented in this e-commerce platform? As very much we can say that yes, the typical web development tools can be embedded inside. You can also use, assuming I'm a designer, I know how to create a website, okay, but it takes time for me to learn coding. But are there tools available where I can integrate AR inside my existing e-commerce platforms, either it's a WooCommerce or Shopify or this thing? You can. Okay, so basically you are giving the consumers control over information, so that again it's the same thing, the purchasing intent is done faster now. I'm just giving an example. Okay, I'm not saying that you can do only with WordPress. Okay, either with WordPress or either with Shopify or any other website. Okay, what generally happens is you create a website in WordPress, you add the WooCommerce store inside it. Okay, then there are some tools and plugins. Some plugins are free, some plugins are paid. It's not heavy, but it's not costly, I will say. You should be able to get those AR plugins and then integrate it as part of your tool. Okay, so keep that in mind when we do the WordPress WooCommerce AR plugins. Okay, and you can exactly do what I've told before. Okay, that means you can visualize, you can configure, and you can augment it. Okay, so and it works seamlessly. That means you can, when you start creating design websites using Shopify or WordPress, this is another part of integration that you can always think through. Okay, and is easy to do, and don't have to have very high technical knowledge because you're relying on the tools to do it. Okay, so we again want to show two examples on this one. Okay, the first example, okay, and I took an example on assuming that you're selling art, okay, paintings. Okay, till now whatever I have showed you, just for sake of example, okay, to recollect what I have shown is everything is markerless AR, but horizontal planes. That means everything is, you're tapping, it is residing on the floor. We call it as horizontal plane. Okay, sometimes you go back vertical and say, course, can I augment something on my wall? Meaning there are a lot of people who want to do art collections. They want to buy a very interesting art collection, okay, by online. Okay, they like to see the art and they will buy it. Okay, can I use AR as one of the solution to, apart from selecting what is a very nice art by this particular artist? Okay, can I use this particular AR as one of the tool to give that choice? Okay, I think this painting looks good in this particular wall. Okay, or this painting looks in this particular wall. The decision making will be much more faster. Okay, so this one is basically, think like it's for selling art, but using AR as one of the see the types of painting that you're trying to buy for your living room or your office room. It's completely up to you. Okay, and when you see this, what you also have to keep in mind what I've told before. Okay, you are seeing it from the mobile browser. You are seeing the 3D element of that painting. How does the frame looks like? You can orbit around, you can zoom in, and also you're seeing the AR side of this one. Okay, that's the beauty of this particular solution. Okay, so I'm going to open up this one. So basically, as I go across, so that's basically your website. You have the painting done by the artist, the pricing. You can look around, And then when you tap AR, it actually opens up the camera of your mobile phone and you're able to see the painting in the AR. This is more called as a vertical space. That means no longer a tapping onto the horizontal surface. You're actually looking at the wall and tapping, and the painting sticks to the wall, and see how does the painting looks from the vertical surface. So that way it is easy for people to see how does it look like. Okay. So, and again, another example for that one. Same thing, you can drag and drop it and you'll be able to see it. And you can move it, you can rotate it, you can scale it. So you can decide how big the painting is, whether it fits, it doesn't fit, kind of a thing. And you can take up a camera, snap it and share it to others. Way of how painting gets embedded right inside your purchase decision law. Okay, so that's the beauty of this thing. Okay, so we have seen the app based, we have seen the web AR, the typical programmer's approach, and this is more towards like the reason I showed the previous example is I really want to get into the WordPress and say that how easy to integrate. This page was done in WordPress. Okay, we took a template, we dropped the template as a prototype, and then we used the app plugin to integrate right inside the space. So it was easy for us, saying that the journey is from design all the way to integrate a plugin, and then how does it get viewed in the mobile space. Okay, another example on the furniture side of it. Okay, so this also is very interesting, is because the same process. Okay, we are not touching the we're still going into the WordPress side of it. Okay, e-commerce route. Okay, buying a furniture. Okay, so we want to tap onto this and say how does this whole thing looks like using WordPress, but for a specific furniture. Okay, you already seen furniture that's app based. Okay, you're making the customer to download the app. Okay, but what happens if I don't want the customer to download the app? Can I use it on the browser? This is one example. And what you see here is basically, as a first stop, that is what I call it as a 3D element. Okay, you can get a 3D element model or use one of the tools to get the 3D element, use it to orbit around, and then you can zoom in, zoom out, and then use the AR mode to augment it. Okay, so this is another one. And then viewing it in the space. And always keep in mind the when you start doing those AR 3D models. Okay, just keep this in mind about it has to look realistic because you're trying to replicate an actual product. Okay, so the challenge will be not only to create a 3D model, but also challenge to see that the look and feel of the model resembles the product. Okay, because you don't need something to be like a game model. At the same time, you don't need something, you can't load a high end like a film side of 3D model. It has to be optimized or balanced between your games and film. Okay, and make sure that it is realistic. Okay, so we are still in 3D space. We are orbiting around to see how does it look like. And once you tap onto it, you are able to tap and you're augmenting, and you can scale it to the size of your living room, and then move, rotate, and scale to see how does it fit like. Okay, so that's the whole idea behind this. So the thought process is everything remains the same. So when you have a business decision, you have to make, am I going this as an app-based route or am I going on the web-based route? Okay, and that's the whole idea behind it. Okay, at the same time, you're also looking at whether I want to integrate in my existing store, whether I'm doing using WordPress or using Shopify, can I integrate inside that space? Okay, so that's why we're showing multiple examples of whether I'm going to do a chair or whether I'm going to do a couch kind of a thing. Okay, both examples are going to be Very interesting to see how this journey is. Okay, as much we are saying people are coming with glasses and all those things, end of the day people have smartphones. Okay, can the solution that you're trying to create will be used in the smartphones market? Okay, accessible, can every layman person use it? That's what the whole idea behind is now. Okay, um, and as we have seen app based, as we have seen the web based, there are a lot more examples you can do, but just because of time, just having this case studies. Okay, what do you decide whether I'm going to go for app or whether I'm going to go for web? Okay, three things: technology, content, and promotion. These three will see the deal for you. Okay, first, almost important thing is when you are getting into this AR thing, ask a business user. Okay, you're not designing or developing for you, you're designing for your customer. You ask whether the customer, you want the customer to download or not to download. It's a very important thing, it matters a lot. Okay, if you think you're setting a KPI, okay, you want to have 10,000 downloads, one way of making sure that you're hitting the target. The second way is when people download it or people use the browser to do it, you are able to track how much time they spend on this AR element. Both are your KPIs. You can set a target. First, I need 10,000 downloads, or a person has to spend 1 minute or engagement time with the 3D model or AR that I've created. Somewhere you have to set a benchmark so that you will be able to track and say whether it is giving you a return of investment or not. So the first is download or not download. Okay. The second, very, very important, I think this was asked previously also, is like, should I care about the phone my customer is using? Yes. Why? For two reasons. Okay, at present most of the web AR solutions at least are going on the track of markerless AR. Okay, that means when I want to create a solution, you have to ask is like, are you okay with having only 70% of the customers having this kind of phones? It's not 100, 70%. Okay, that is a decision making thought process that you should make. Okay, because you are trying, you can't have a marker base. Assuming I want to buy a furniture, you can't put a marker and say, post now, scan the marker. It's not reasonable. So it has to be a markerless AR. That means you have to let go the 90% marker and say, I'm happy with 70%, at least 70% is viewing in this space. They are able to make the decision faster. So keep in mind, should I care about the phone my customer is using? Yes, very important. Okay. And also the two things that when you do this web AR solution, okay, there are two kinds of people you will face. One is markerless AR, obviously, yes. The second type is, am I using an Android or am I using an iOS phone? Okay, that means when you create a 3D file model, you are pitching two file formats, USDC and the GLPF. Okay, so that means when Android users, the model is downloaded, AR is done, markerless AR is there. When I am iOS user, they are using the same. So the app should be able to detect whether I'm using AR, the file format will load accordingly. If I'm using Android, the file format will load accordingly. Keep that in mind when you use this particular solution. That's why should I care about the phone my customer is using? Yes. Okay. Um, and the third and most important thing is also important is like, as I start building more models inside my applications, the size of your app increases. Okay. So that means if you say that, boss, I'm going to have my app as 200 MB or 300 MB, okay, will your user be able to download and say, boss, 200 MB app, should I download or not download? Okay. And that's why some people will say, go for a web-based AR approach. Appless means spaceless AR. Okay. So no need for user to give up storage on the devices. The last is the most key here. Content is the key. How good is your content? Okay, whether it is closer to realism or not is a very important thing. Okay, it has to be engaging and relevant. Okay, bring the real life product in a 3D form. Okay, the whatever 3D that you're trying to create is replicating the product. Okay, and it should look realistic, and that's the $1 million content creation, and that is very important for the mediums, whether I do iOS or whether I use Android for it. Okay, it should be engaging. Engaging means you're orbiting, you're configuring, you are relevant to what that product that you're trying to Bye. So very important thing as we're coming to the close of this webinar. What seals the deal is basically communication and experience. Okay, as much you have done app, as much you have done the web based, the most important thing is how are you communicating this experience to your customer. Okay, use social media. Are you using like commercials, or are you putting a YouTube, or you're figuring out a medium to tell that there is this AR solution available, please do see it. Okay, so it's a lot of communication. You have to tell the tell the users that this is AR, there is this AR component exists, please do try, so that it'll be faster for you to decide to buy the product. Okay, so it's technology, content, and promotion. For both of all three these things, communicating the experience is very important. Okay, so as much you're talking about web or app, the the deal is whether are we able to tell the correct messaging to the customer. Okay, um, and the last final thoughts on this one, uh, as summarizing it, whether it's visually appealing to the user, you are able to connect with the user, make sure you have a kind of a storytelling, and make sure you are having a personal experience to the AR side of it. That means you feel it's personal. Okay, the customer has to feel that it's personal. Okay, that means you are just living up to him. It's like a toy. Let him play with it. Let him rotate. Let him orbit. Let him change the color. Let him see how the product looks. Okay, so you're giving the empowerment back to the customer side of it, and that's the important part of it. Three important things: visually appealing, you're connecting emotionally to the customer. Third is it's personal. Again, that's the three part to this AR playbook. Okay, saying that, so we have covered first session AR. The second session we have covered the app and web-based AR. The last session we will be, for next class we'll be covering on the social media side of it. Okay, more on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat or Lens Studio. Okay, and why it is important, because we have seen app, we have seen web. There is this big chunk that is hanging right now. It's on the social media. It's got a lot of user base, and the question comes is, how does AR, whatever you see here, this furniture or this element, okay, interaction, engagement, okay, social media is the big powerhouse that's dominating right now, more than app or more than web based. Okay, a lot of people are using AR without knowing it's AR component of it. Okay, so next week we'll dive deeper into what it takes to create a social media experience, AR experience, okay, for Instagram, Snapchat, and most likely we'll also cover Lens Studio for a couple of reasons, because Lens Studio, it's like a version 2, it's like a rebirth for Lens Studio Snapchat. A lot of very interesting complex AR solutions have been created. Try-ons, whether it's going to be a garment or whether it's going to be glasses, whether it's going to be a shoe. A lot of very interesting things have been tried using Snapchat or Lens Studio. Okay, so we'll see it next week. And I'll wrap up this session. If I have any questions, I can take on and we can go from there.